How's it going? So last night, my wife and I went to see Camina Burana at the Roma Caracalla. The Caracalla is like this magnificent space, landmass essentially of Roman ruins that used to be, the Roman baths, um, libraries, gardens, gyms. It was just an incredible space in the center of Rome. So we went there last night to see Camina Burana. So if you don't know what the Camina Burana is, it's basically a collection of medieval poems that were written around 1250 AD. They were rediscovered in around the 19th century, and Karl Orff, the German composer, wrote the music to 24 of the 240 poems that were discovered in 1936, something like that, around World War II. Apparently, he wasn't a Nazi, but the Nazis loved the stuff. It's quite timeless, but let's put that aside. Anyway, I didn't know any of this going in. We just thought it would be a nice experience to experience that space at night and see something different, do something different. So we just went, had no historical knowledge of the place. So we get there and the show starts, and it's like 30 minutes in. We're kind of just looking at each other like, why are we here? This is incredibly boring. My wife, especially, was dozing off. I had to nudge her at least 10 times, at least a minimum of 10 times. I nudged her. I just wake up, try to. By the way, it's a work week, so understandably, everyone is tired. I'm tired. My wife's tired. And then we decide we're going to leave at the next applause break. Just before that applause break comes, they perform another poem to the music and all that. And I kind of look up, I'm kind of like half asleep, and I see the poem about the swan. And I kind of see, because throughout the performance, they had put the lyrics to the poems on projection so you could follow along, which was really, really good and really, really ingenious, because when that poem came along, I kind of looked up, like I said, and I saw the lyrics, and I was like, am I really reading this? Like, what in the world is going on? And it turned out to be the poem about the russet swan. And you can see the lyrics going something like, "Oh, I used to be a beautiful swan. I used to float on the lakes. Now I'm dinner." Essentially, I'm being cooked. I'm being roasted on a spit. And it was all. I just couldn't stop laughing. It was just unbelievably dark, but also humorous, because it's so unexpected. I didn't expect that level of gallows humor at an opera. You have this sort of perception about what an opera is, and like I said, we just kind of went just to experience, Rome at night in that space. But I didn't anticipate that the undermining of is it undermining? It's not really undermining. You're more subversion of the genre, right? And it was absolutely amazing, I have to say, because it was anticipated, unexpected. Everyone kind of woke up. If you looked around, you just see everyone going like, "Are those lyrics real? Like, what is going on exactly?" And it kind of goes on about being a swan and being cooked and being dinner, and yeah, that kind of livened everyone up. And then goes on to more absurd poetry, and you're like, is this really happening? Like, what is going on? I thought this was, because like I said, when you think of an opera, you think of a spectacle, you think of lofty ideas and, you know, rich people with their noses up in the air, that sort of thing. But it was really, really, yeah, it was quite eye opening because the themes were profound, but it was balanced out nicely with the humor and the criticism of church and state and the tragedy of life. You know, all those lofty ideas. But it also taught me, or you know, confirmed to me that humor is timeless, whether it's the 13th century or the 21st century. If it's funny, it's funny. If it's funny, it's funny. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. It definitely woke me up. So we got back and I just kind of read more about it. And I was like, oh, yep, there were definitely parts that were profound, parts that were very profane, which was hilarious. Parts were just comical. Yeah, it was. So it's kind of like, yeah, you don't really know what you're gonna get till you go out and experience something new, and that kind of kind of throws your preconceived notions out the window. Anyway, that's the story of when we saw the Kamina Burana.